Jonathan Davis, the economist and wealth manager, with us this morning. Morning to you, Jonathan.
Hi, Stephen.
And John Minnis, the owner of Minnis & Co. Estate Agents. Morning to you, John.
Morning, Stephen.
Well, Jonathan Davis, your read of the market, has it bottomed out?
I don't believe it has. I think the next
How often are you going to say this?
until the facts change.
Right, okay. You've been saying it for years, Jonathan.
I've been invited onto your television and radio shows for the last 4 years. I was thinking about that since your producer called me, and I've been calling for. Originally, I called for a 40 to 50% fall in 2007, when, of course, all the estate agents and mortgage brokers and banks were saying, no, house prices are going to plateau, they're not going to fall. And a couple of years ago, I changed it to more like 50 to 70% fall, and I still stand by that. We're currently, according to the Halifax Bank, at 47%.
So you think property prices have another 20% to go?
I think that's entirely possible, yes, over the next couple or 3 years.
And what are you basing this on? I'm
basing it on, take your pick. The lending is practically non-existent because the banks are in dire straits. 70% of the Northern Ireland economy is the public sector. Oh, and what happened last week? The cuts started. People are in negative equity. Investors are easier to find than Osama bin Laden. I could go on and on. The market is dire. The economy is dire. People have to wake up to reality.
John Minnis?
Well, I think I'm just about to throw the rope up listening to him. The facts are that investors are back, and the banks, one of our local banks came to meet with myself last week to promote the fact that they have a vault of money that they want to lend to the mortgage market in Northern Ireland. Now, if the banks are wanting back into the market, we are at the bottom. Or at least, probably none of us will know we're at the bottom until the market starts to rise. A bit like we didn't know we were at the top until the market came down. And I think that's probably the truth of it. But the fact is that we are selling more houses today than we have sold in the last 4 years. Estate agents are at the busiest they have been. The market is the most active it has been. We have properties on the market that are, okay, not many of them, but we have properties on the market that are having bidding situations. So if the finance wasn't there, this wouldn't happen.
So you're saying that you're selling more houses now than at any stage over the last 4 years?
That is absolutely fact. The market is not as bad as Jonathan Davis and a lot of other people will make out. The fact is the market had a correction to make, and that correction has been made. In fact, I would agree with Jonathan that somewhere between 45 and 50% has come off the market, and in some areas it may be more than that, but the market has corrected and buyers are back. To say that investors are harder to find than bin Laden, well, we had 4 or 5 bin Ladens in my office in Hollywood last week.
Presumably it differs depending on where you are in Northern Ireland, and there must be different pockets of Northern Ireland which are more buoyant than others.
And some of the peripheral towns haven't. Maybe they're not seeing as much action as North Down, Belfast, Greater Belfast, but I think that's largely to do with price. In most of these pricing issues, there's the pricing is corrected from the sort of capital out, and I think maybe some of our further reach towns maybe haven't corrected as much as they could have or should have, but that is changing, and I don't think you'll find an agent to disagree with me.
Jonathan Davis?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like listening to a tape recorder. For the last 10 years, vested interests, property developers, estate agents, lenders, mortgage brokers, they said, when there was massive boom, they said, well, prices will rise a little bit and then they'll plateau. And, of course, they got that wrong. And then when prices did top out, they said they won't fall. And when they started falling, they said, well, they're bottoming out now. funny enough, they've been bottoming out for the last 4 years. Allow me to read to you very quickly two things I found on the BBC Northern Ireland website this morning. 6th of April, Northern Bank report, sharp fall in consumer confidence. 12th of April, from the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors, who, Stephen, you normally put me up against. It's interesting they're not talking to you today. Northern Ireland house prices will drop further, says the Royal Institution in Northern Ireland. The Daily Telegraph, lowest house sales in nearly 2 years. Well, I don't know what's happening to that guy's sales office, but well done to him. He's sold a few properties. But I'll tell you what, the economy is dire. And one of these days, estate agents are going to get real with people, and they're actually going to say, look, it's not to do with price. It's to do with the economy. It's
Jonathan.
To do with unemployment. It's to do with prospects. And even though he's had a bank in saying, we've got some money for you, the fact is the banks are in dire straits. They may have 50 million quid or whatever it is to lend, but it's a drop in the ocean of what's needed to bring prices up.
Well, you can tell us this morning if you're listening in Derry, Londonderry, if you're listening in Coleraine, wherever it is. Let us know if you've had your house on the market, if you've had many viewers, if you've been able to get it away. 08459 555 678. Billy, morning to you, Billy.
Morning, Stephen.
Go ahead, Billy.
One point that's sometimes overlooked, I think, in the whole housing debate is the actual cost at the minute. Who build a house and what banks or mortgage companies will actually put on it. The material cost this year has increased about 20% since I started to build, which is a lot to find towards the end of a project when the bank is valued at the start. And they've cut their own valuations a way back. So the percentage difference in their lending is less, but the margin for them if I default
Billy,
or for anybody building a house then is so much less.
Billy, thank you, sir. Last word to you, John Minnis.
Well, I mean, Davis is himself a broken record where he keeps saying prices come down. And yes, they have, and he has been right to a large degree. Prices have come down, and I'm not suggesting that the market is or the economy isn't in a poor state, but I can only tell you the facts, and the facts are we're selling more houses than we have sold in the last 4 years. There is much more activity.
How many?
Agents are back.
How many? Put a number on that.
Put a number on that. We agreed 21 houses in 2 offices last week. We agreed 18 houses in both offices the week before that, and 12 the week before that.
Okay. John Minnis, thank you very much. Jonathan Davis, thank you. Obviously, this is a discussion that we'll be coming back to